Hi guys, and today in the Silverwolf series we're going to talk about wet weather fire starting. When we get out and everything is damp and wet, now it may have rained today or the last couple of days, and it just seems like everything you find is wet. That's when you have to go into your fire kit and pull out those wet weather, work even when wet fire starters like the wax discs or some other thing. Plus you should be carrying some sort of light tinder in there. Well, one of my favorites for use in the wet weather is the long match. Now I've mentioned this in my videos before, but it's one of my favorite wet weather type fire starters. And that's because you've got a tinder bundle of where you've gathered up what is available. And during the winter, a lot of times this stuff just gets hard to get because those weeds and the flower heads have just disappeared. They've been ground up, or it's been snowed on, or the storms have got them, or whatever. The cold is just gone, and all you're left with is sticks. And so you have to make tinder. What this is just simply a bundle of what I could find of tiny little sticks, very ends that are dry and snap, and then an old weed body, and then I've bound it all together with a little bit of a vine I found over here. But it's still going to be damp. And so if I take and put my lighter up here and start trying to hold on to it, it will probably catch, but I'm going to burn up a lot of fuel. So what can I do to make a standing flame to dry this out to build the fire? And that's where the long match comes in. Now what I've done is taken a large piece of fat wood, okay, and I've simply took my knife and I've split it to make a long match. Now a long match is simply a long piece of fat wood down into the good stuff, this nice bright and orange, and got the smell to it. So my preparation is I'm going to take this long match, I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to fuzzy stick it a little bit, figuring that this right here is where I'm going to stick it in the ground, because I'm going to burn this vertically. Okay, so this is going to stick in the ground, and from here up is the way I want the flames to go. So I want to make my little feathers this direction, because fire is going to go up this way. So I want it to go uphill. And so what I'm going to do right here is simply all along in here make several little bitty places where I can hook and get it to go. Catch, because I want to catch this flame that I'm about to put to it and start doing it. I'm making a fuzzy stick this way. See? So as each one of these catches, I want it to spread the flame further up. Sometimes they fall off. And good fat wood, it's kind of, you can't ever split fat wood straight. And everybody talking about just make a feather stick. Good fat wood won't make a feather stick, and I tell you why. It's because it has too many resin in it, and that resin will start overloading the, we'll say the wood grain, and so it don't split straight anymore. It's like it got epoxy in it, which it does in a way, and therefore it keeps it from working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the camera down. I'm going to show you my wet weather fire lay. I'm going to take this and stick it in the ground, and then around it I'm going to form up my wood that's going to be for drying, okay? And then I'm going to put a layer all the way around it so that when I ignite this and it burns and this whole thing catches on fire and I've got a column of 10 or 12, 18 inches of flame coming off, that's when I'm going to put that tinder bundle in there. It will dry out the tinder bundle and get the tinder bundle burning. And then I will put that around it and then start stacking other wood on top to dry out and catch fire. So let me set up and we'll get going. Now, I'm going to take my long match. I'm going to take another thin chip right here, something I can set on fire fairly easily. I'm going to take my sharpened long match I'm going to push it right down in the middle of the dirt, just like that. So it stands vertically. Okay. Now, I've got my tinder bundle handy. I'm going to ignite this. Let it get going good, so I can stop using my lighter and let it get going. Once it heats up, those fossil oils will start coming out, and it will start self-feeding itself. Now, I start lighting the long match. Just like this. You see how that makes a long vertical flame coming up tall, real quick. Now around it, I would take and put my other sticks right quick. Start building around it. As much to dry these out as anything else. And then my long tinder bundle, which is damp, can sit here in that fire, see, and dry it out to get it going. Now I can put it right there. And I can take my other sticks and begin laying across the top of them, just like this, to get the fire going. Notice I'm not expending anything anymore. I'm not using my lighter or whatever. But that long match is sitting there like a blowtorch, constantly adding heat, flames right up into that damp tinder bundle. Woo, look at it smoking. You can expect there's going to be quite a bit of smoke, and that's fine. Now space your stuff out so it's got plenty of oxygen coming around it. So that tinder bundle does dry out and go to burning properly. It's got a place to catch it. And all I took was one long sliver of fat wood in about 10 seconds with a lighter to get that going. Now I can also take some of these long chips, drop in there to be little hot spots to keep it going. But with that, and that long match is still underneath, still putting in power. Let me see if I can show you that. See? That long match is still just sitting there burning like a blowtorch, putting fire into that wet bundle and into all them wet sticks. So the long match makes it easier to build a fire in wet conditions. Now suppose one ain't enough. Well, if everything's just absolutely sopping wet, I would put 3 of those long matches down there, spread them out a couple inches apart, and set all 3 of them on fire, and then build the fire on top of it. Real quick. This technique was taught a lot back in Boy Scouts, back in the 20s and 30s, because you were expected to start and light a campfire with just one match. You get several minutes of flame out of that long match. One piece of fat wood sat vertical like this will just keep burning and generate the heat to get the fire going. Super easy. So, for a conservation of resources, I simply took a piece of fat wood, which is sourced anywhere down here in my south. But you could be carrying hunks of this. Now I know a lot of you are going to say, Blackie, I can't find it in my local area. Where do I go? If you'll go to the big box stores like Walmart and stuff like that, and look where they sell firewood, there'll be a box of fire starter, and it's fat wood. This is industrially harvested and processed and sold where you find firewood, and there'll be a big box of it. So carrying a piece of this, where I could take my knife and split that in half and turn that into 2 long matches. Just sit in there, boom, boom, make a fuzzy stick out of it, set it on fire and watch that flame crawl up it, and have 18 to 24 inches of flame just running into a damp set of firewood would get me a fire going in wet, nasty conditions. So that's this week's tip for the old wolves. If it's looking bad and it's damp and everything, do a long match. That's the way to do it. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you have, please hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.